Hello everyone and welcome to a very loud video because this phase change is currently running on this here GTX 580 Direct CO2. I really don't know how good the audio situation is going to be. Depending on how bad it is, this might be the only video that I make while this thing is running. But yeah, so I did a test run yesterday where I got the thing, and now today I volt modded and prepared this GTX 580 Direct CO2. This is not the same one that you saw previously. This is a, I think I made a short about this one. I bought this thing for like 15 euros. It was described as dead, and then when I got it, it turned out that the card was actually fine. There was nothing wrong with it. So the card didn't really have a purpose because I wanted to turn it into an e-power, but now where it's working, I thought, well, I don't know, maybe I can use it for something. And as it turns out, that something is to do a more serious run with the phase change setup, where I actually try to get some things done, but not really go for world records. Just like try to do a longer, more serious session, try to get a feeling for how it works. Which is also why it's still on the not my main test bench. That's actually over there. If it would focus, that's the normal test bench. This is on a i5 4690. And basically I used this thing because the last time I went sub-zero I ruined my motherboard and had to clean it off with vinegar several times to get it to working again. So now I thought for the first couple runs I'm just gonna use this motherboard, which yeah, it's not gonna be that big of an issue if I break it. But yeah, so far things have been fine. This thing has been running for over an hour now, must be. And we are pretty stable at around minus 50 degrees. And yeah, apart from the noise, which is very annoying, this thing is super fun to use. It just, yeah, these are about the same. Like I could get slightly colder peaks with dry ice, but under load I would. This is basically the best I could get under load for temperatures. And not even. I had really big issues with dry ice on graphics cards, also on a GTX 580. Not this one, it was a Lightning, but it's the same thing. That thing went up to minus 19 degrees under load. This thing just stays. This thing stays where it is. So that might be due to the thermal probe that's in the evaporator part here not being directly connected to where the core is. I need to put the second one right here, which is currently just measuring the ambient temperature. I need to put that behind the core, which you can see is nice and icy right now. I need to put that there to measure the temperature delta. And yeah, basically that. But yeah, I thought I was gonna make this first video of just running the phase change. So if you wonder what's going on the screen, I'm installing Windows 10 right now because my OS died, and I had the very good idea of installing a new Windows install while this thing is still sub-zero. But it enables me to make this video. So yeah, let's just go over the setup here. So as already said, this is a old motherboard. It has a locked i5 4690 on it with a very overkill heatsink. The motherboard itself is a, well, it's an MSI board. It's a B85, I have no idea which one, but you can see the VRM right here. It's not a very good one. But yeah, like the board just exists to make the PC work. Same with the CPU. There's only one 8 gig RAM stick in there, so I'm running single channel. Like the CPU score is not the point here. The point is to get the card clocked high, which I'm somewhat, well, it's not going that great, because this card, I'm gonna be honest, is pretty bad. Which is also why I'm running this one right now, because if this card dies, I don't really care. I don't want to ruin a very good card, because, yeah, like I did the test yesterday, and that was just really like turning it on and seeing if it works. And this is the first actual, really, like, real session I have with it. And I have heard of some things that can go wrong. And yeah, if such things would happen, I would rather lose this card than any others. So that's why the card is in here. But yeah, let's continue with the setup. So yeah, i5-4690, the MSI B85 motherboard, very overkill cooler, I'm talking German again, cooler. And yeah, we just have a random SSD back here. Just one of the SSDs from my test bench. Actually 2 power supplies, because this is the test bench power supply and this is the other one for this backup bench that I usually use, but it can power a 580 at sub-zero and overvolted, of course. So the lower power supply, which is a Be Quiet Pure Power 10 400 watt, that's powering the motherboard. And then the upper one, which as you can see is an 8GB AP750GM. No, that's not the one that blows up. That would be the GP750GM. This one's fine. That powers the graphics card over here. And then for the graphics card itself, well, it's, as I already said, it's a GTX 580 Direct CO2. And it's, you can see here, it's plasti-dipped with clear plasti-dip on front and back. And then it's also volt modded. So you have a memory and a core volt mod here. There's one more volt mod that I'm kinda missing, which would be a PEX-Rail volt mod right there. Oh, come on, smartphone, just focus. Right there. That's currently under plasti-dip as well, so that's gonna be fun later. But for GTX 580, or less generally Fermi, you need to undervolt the PEX-Rail to get better core clocks. Now that wasn't really a priority for this session, because the main point of this session is to get a feeling for running this thing, for how to use it and what potential problems could arise. Undervolting the PEX-Rail to get a few more megahertz out of the core isn't really a priority right now, though I am also kind of trying to push the card. Yeah, so like I'm gonna lose a bunch of core clock, which I already noticed. Like this card was not very good from the beginning. But yeah, this thing currently, like I couldn't get it faster than I got my Lightning at ambient. Let's say that. Maybe that's just a testament to how good the Lightning was before it decided to die. That's a different story, I haven't told that one yet, but that card is probably dead. Or maybe that's just because this card is very, very bad. Maybe both. But yeah, so vcore, vmem volt mod, you can see them back here. They both have a switch to turn them off, and they are also using these thermometers that I got from the from Elmer Labs shop that have a thumb grip sort of that you can turn it without a screwdriver. Yeah. Then for the setup itself, the card is delidded, so there's no more IHS on the card. And then for the mounting, this is probably the worst part of the setup, because so when I got the face, come on, just focus. Why does this thing not focus? When I got the face change from Dan Gilmore, is who I bought this thing from. He told me that he couldn't find the mounting stuff, and he's probably gonna he's gonna send it after. But the thing is, this thing is meant, you can kind of see, that's meant for CPUs. That's like, I think that's AM3, and that's like all the Intel mounting spots. What I did is, with a little help from my dad, who has a CNC in his workshop, we drilled basically all the mounting holes you could need for GPUs into this thing as well, which is what I'm using right now. You can kind of see the GTX 560 Ti hole poking out here, because that's not a square, it's like a rectangle. Yeah, so I was missing the mounting hardware. So what I did is find some M3 screws that are long enough, so the minimum I need is for this is about 5 centimeters. I took that and I just found some M3 nuts and just screwed the card down between them. So you can see how the farthest back at the bottom is slightly shorter than the other ones. And they're all different kinds of screws. Actually, one of them isn't even a screw. One of them is just like a winding with another nut on the other side. Yeah, that's the shorter one. So yeah, the mounting on this is pretty bad. The mount, the thermal paste contact itself is probably also pretty bad, which could also be why the core isn't clocking that well. But I'm still kind of happy that it worked this well, because I've been told that phase change setups have a tendency to crack dies. And the card yesterday, still having an IHS on it, I couldn't really like estimate if that's true with my setup. But now this card is deleted, it has a pretty big die, and it's using about the jankiest mounting setup that I'm ever gonna use with this, and the die is still fine after over an hour. I think that I've panicked a bit more than necessary about cracking GPU dies here, which is also the main reason why I didn't want to use a good card of mine for this thing. I was actually planning to use a GTX 480 reference card first, but that one had some complications with mounting and the base plate, so I saw this card and was like, hey, you don't have a purpose, let's give you one. So yeah. Yeah. That's basically the bench. And I really have to say that I really love how stable this is. It's been like this for, over an hour now, like 1.5 hours now. And I just have a piece of paper down there, like toilet paper. Nothing else. Same on this side. And there's, I think there was one single drop of water, which was from when I had the card like idle for a bit and then went under load, and then a bit of the outer ice froze. Not froze, like melted and became water droplets. I had to remove those. But apart from that, this thing is really stable, which is the exact thing I wanted this phase change setup for, because dry ice is not stable. Dry ice was having temperature fluctuations all over the place. Ice behind the core turned into water and just dripped all over the place. That's probably how my motherboard got ruined. And this thing just stays. It just stays. And that's the part I really like. I really like. It's just so stable. You can use it for hours without issue. So you don't really have to... You actually don't really have to babysit it. Just like look at the back for every couple minutes. If there's a couple droplets, you have to get away. Other than that, this thing just works. You can just fully focus on maxing the card. And if I had good enough internet right now, I would even consider like streaming some overclocking. Except that this thing makes a lot of noise. So I might be able to use like the well, that's gonna be kinda hard to hook up because I'm gonna need a PC with an NVIDIA graphics card in it. But I could maybe try to hook up something using RTX voice. Maybe that's good enough to filter the noise out in the background. Then at least you don't have to witness this. I'm still gonna go crazy after a couple hours from the noise because it is very annoying. I've already put like a blanket under it to minimize the vibrations. I think I'm gonna do a better setup that involves some like packing foam and stuff. But like the noise in general, it is just pretty loud. I think it's actually louder in real life than on video. So I hope that this video is at least you can understand me. I have no idea how I sound. But yeah. So this thing is still copying over all my install data, which is fun. Actually, I think after it's done copying, I'm gonna shut the thing down because, yeah, I like, yeah, I mean, the card will have to dry first. But no, actually it's plastic dipped, so yeah, I don't even have to like fully dry it because it's just plastic dipped. So I could rerun the cards later today, if I want to. So I might do that. I haven't gotten the card really that high for now. Like, basically the highest I got this card to pass was 1100 megahertz core, which is pretty bad considering how much cooling I'm throwing at it. Because I once had, with my normal test bench, so this radiator here, I put that on into an open window to pull in cold air from outside, which was at around like 10 to 12 degrees. So it was basically cold ambient. I overclocked the GTX 580 Lightning, the second Lightning, the one that's dodgy, and that's, I can maybe imagine how it died because it became more dodgy and now doesn't work at all anymore. But that card had an insane core on it, and with this cold ambient setup where the card would basically run in the high 20s to low 30s under load, that card did over 1200 megahertz core, if I remember correctly. I really hope I did over 1200. I'm pretty sure I did over 1200 on that card. But if I was gonna tell you like a specific core clock, I can't really remember which it was. But I think it was slightly over 1200. So this thing doing only 1100 at similar voltages and way more cooling is kind of disappointing. But the thing has to be said, that Lightning had the PEX rail undervolted, this one doesn't. And as far as I'm aware, that's a pretty big deal. Because on the Lightning I also saw it really needed the undervolt in like the high 1100s. And right now this card, I got into some rounds of GT1 where the card would run for a bit but then crash in that sort of high 1100s range. Yeah, so I ran into the problem just first that the card would just crash, probably because instability. And then I had a different issue where the card would crash right at the beginning of the test, which I actually sort of found out is due to vcore. So if I give it too much vcore, over 1.35 volts, then the thing just crashes at the beginning of the test. And I think you need to undervolt the PEX rail for it to not do that, because the Lightning did not crash at over 1.35. I ran the card at 1.45 and it was completely fine. So it might be that undervolting the PEX rail fixes that behavior where it insta crashes. If not, then, well, this card is just a really sad card and it wasn't meant for greatness. But yeah, so as far as the core goes, it's not clocking that well. I mean, this is a pretty bad fight. Like, I went through my normal binning procedure, like I always do in the beginning, and this card was among the worst. I think it's the second worst 580 I ever tested. And I even had the card on a custom heatsink, so it was the coldest running of all the 580s I tested, and it was the second worst. So the core on this just isn't good. So it might just be that it's just that bad and can't clock higher. But then again, there's so many factors that could make this worse, like my mounting setup being totally weird, the card not being undervolted in PEX, and yeah, basically those two things. But yeah, so the video now is like 19 minutes long, and it's completely stable. There's nothing to babysit right here. I couldn't have done that on dry ice. I've made 2 videos where I ran dry ice. None of them are public, I think, because they both were just so bad, and one of them ended in extreme rage on my side because yeah, water got into the PCI Express slot and the bench wouldn't boot again. So yeah, this is just so much better. And depending on how bad the noise situation is, I think it's pretty bad. I'm gonna try to make more videos about this. Like, I could do some, if I can't live stream, maybe I can just record some overclocking sessions. And yeah, I don't know, I can think of something. But I think that this noise from this thing is gonna make that pretty hard. unless I move the entire test bench somewhere else, and then like have a hole through a wall where this thing comes through, and then have it in a different room. That would maybe fix it, but I do not currently own such a room. I only have this one. Yeah, I think I'm just really rambling right now. So the thing you should take away from this video is just, I really like this phase change. It's just really good. It's super stable and so much easier to use than I expected. And yeah, like, now where this card didn't die, I might think about running some proper cards with this that can actually clock well. And who knows where we will end up. But taking a sneak peek at HW board, I could actually get some really good scores here. Basically because this phase change is just, like, I haven't talked about that yet, but like minus 50. You could say because it's idle, but this doesn't change under load. Which again, well, it could just not change under load, or maybe the thermal probe is not close enough to the core to see the change in temperature. Both could be the case. But yeah, so basically the thing is, from what I know, also from what I've been told about the Dan Gilmore before he sold me the phase change, this is a really, really powerful unit. This is basically the strongest a phase change can get, and much stronger than a lot of other phase changes. Like, a lot of other phase changes do like a minus 20. This is minus 50, that's more than twice as cold. So this, like, minus 50 is straight up just dry ice temperatures. The only thing that can really, really beat me now is liquid nitrogen. And I guess it's gonna stay that way. I'm not really planning to do liquid nitrogen, just because it's kind of hard to get, it's pretty expensive, and I would rather just get some experience with this thing first before I try something else. So I'm not completely saying I'm never going to do liquid nitrogen, but for now I will use this thing a lot. So yeah, but looking at HW board, for a bunch of cards that I have, there's not that many people running them this cold. So I can just fully concentrate on modding the cards, like getting capacitors on them, getting them volt modded, optimizing Windows installs, like really, really testing them to the max. I don't really have to, what's the word, care about cooling situation, because I just have this thing now. So yeah, that really should be it now for the video. So thank you all for watching. I hope I was somewhat understandable in this video, given the noise that this thing makes. And yeah, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you'd like, I would really, really, like, it would really help out the channel if you left a like and a subscription. So until next time, goodbye.